Hello, welcome back to India on 99.94, your home of Indian cricket content. As always, I'm Nikesh Ragani, your host, BBC commentator, and Sarah Waris of Wisdom alongside me, my co-host on this particular podcast. We've got loads available for you via your usual podcast provider on YouTube and via the 99.94 app. And today, we are not going to be conventionally looking ahead to the India versus New Zealand series, which starts on Friday, the 18th of November, the T20I series down there. But we're going to be looking at the skipper, the Indian skipper for this series. Stand-in, you might call him. Sarah and I might argue he's the future Indian white ball captain and should be already probably the man leading the side when they put those blue shirts on, Hardik Pandya. And it's not going to be a Hardik Pandya love fest, but he's the man of the moment right now. And we're going to take a little look at his journey. And Sarah, it has been quite some journey, hasn't it? It's been entertaining, it's been controversial, and now he's the Siddha Sada kind of guy who's settled down, got his partner, got his young child there as well, and he seems to have matured a lot. But it certainly wasn't that way when he burst onto the scene for the Mumbai Indians all those years ago. And I say burst onto the scene, of course he played for Baroda and through the age groups there with his brother Krunal as well. But it was only really when he came into the IPL that he caught the attention of the wider world, wasn't it? And what a way to do it with the Mumbai Indians back, what was it, 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, something like that?
Yeah.
15, yeah, 7 years
Yeah.
ago, nearly 8.
Yeah. The knock that really brought him onto the limelight was a 31 ball 61. I think it was against KKR. That was, the first knock which announced his arrival. And that year he had a strike rate of 180. And right from the very start, it was like players. Newcomers coming up on the stage, we've all been taught about how to score runs, more runs will fetch you attention, and that's good for your future. All the coaches from the grassroots, like everyone coaches that year he had a average of 22 with the bat, not really all striking, but had a strike rate of 180. And for a newcomer to just be fearless and be like, I don't care, I'm just going to play my natural game, that was an indication that he is here to stay. And his bowling was obviously um amazing. And that year, I though he didn't pick up a lot of wickets that year, he just picked up one wicket, but everyone knew what he's capable of. And I think just one season after he made his debut for India, I think he made his debut in 2016. Yeah, so one
Yeah,
season later.
2016, yeah, absolutely. And it was T20s against Australia away in Adelaide as well, Virat Kohli's favourite ground, of course. And I mean, it was quite a swift sort of transition. I mean, everything kind of worked out the way. If you're a young cricketer trying to make your way, you first look to play for your state or your domestic side, which he did for Baroda. He made his debut in 2013, and then a couple of years later, straight into the IPL for the biggest franchise going, the Mumbai Indians. And then a year later plays for India in white ball cricket, sort of, T20 cricket. Later in the year makes his ODI debut. The following year makes his test debut as well. And it was all going brilliantly up until that point. The Mumbai Indians were winning IPL titles, of course. He was at the front and centre of that with Karan Pollard and Krunal Pandya. I mean, has there ever, them in their peak, sort of 15, 17, around those years, maybe even all the way till 19 when they won it again, those sort of 4 years between 15 and 19, has there ever been a stronger middle order in the IPL? And obviously Hardik was a big part of that. But, you look at him, his brother, the way he was performing as well at that time, and Pollard, I mean, that is fearsome, isn't it?
Even Surya Kumar, though he wasn't really in the middle order then, but Surya Kumar, there was Quinton de Kock also. So 2019 is especially interesting because that year he had a strike rate of 191, which was the second best in the tournament after Andre Russell. The second best after someone like Andre Russell. 191, just brilliant numbers again. Unconventional cricketer right from the start, and what's worked for him is that he didn't try to change his game. Or you can say that becoming the captain of Gujarat Titans this year probably has made him a little more responsible. He was playing the role of an anchor this year, likes to take the game deeper, but we know that he can turn that around and be the finisher that he is. And the fact that he stuck to his strength is a bigger testimony to how confident he is of his own skills.
But look, let's go back a little bit more in time as well. And I mean, we talked about Hardik Pandya, the cricketer, when he came onto the scene as well. But he came on in the IPL 2015, and he's this young guy, very wiry. He's still quite wiry, but quite lean. Likes to go to the gym, and there is muscle on that wire, if you see what I mean. Just literally no fat, and he's obviously naturally a very slim guy, but he's very strong. Works on his strength quite a lot. Works on his fitness a lot as well. But he came onto the scene as this typical new generation, almost bad boy, playboy, that arrogance that he sort of, we certainly saw that arrogance as people just watching the game and not knowing him personally. And that attitude, I mean, it kind of worked a little bit for him early on, particularly with a side like the Mumbai Indians. He could afford that arrogance because he was literally playing in the best side probably that we've ever seen in the IPL. If you look at the Mumbai Indians from 15 to 19, overall, you'd probably say that core of players that they had is arguably the best side that the IPL has ever seen, and he was a big part of that. So he got away with it to an extent. I just want to know what you first thought of him when he came onto the scene. Was it like a bit refreshing after the generations that we've seen previously of the Tendulkars and the Dravids, who publicly were always just gentlemen, really? And then comes obviously Virat Kohli onto the scene, and he's obviously was very aggressive in those early days. I wouldn't quite say arrogant in the same way, but then somebody like a Hardik Pandya comes on. The IPL basically makes him the big star that he is now. And it says a lot about the IPL and the kind of players coming through, the money that's on offer, the tattoos and the gold chains and the swag that they walk with when they come out to the crease. What were your first thoughts when you saw Hardik Pandya in that first season?
Before going into that, just a little background would help in knowing that from where he came up and why that entire attitude was criticized a lot. um uh, Obviously we know that he wasn't from the richest family. His father, who passed away last year, he moved from Surat to Vadodara in Gujarat, gave up his business because he was like there are not of facilities for his sons in Surat, so they moved to Baroda, and from there he enrolled them in Kiran More's academy. Kiran More was impressed seeing their skills. He didn't take money from either of them, but they just survived. Like he was at one point, Hardik Pandya said we would eat Maggie 3 times a day because we didn't have money. My father just gave up everything and moved here, so we didn't have money. He couldn't even complete his school. I think he finished till class 9 and then he dropped out, and cricket was all that he had. Like he was like, now I have to make a name for myself in cricket because like my father sacrificed so much, my parents have sacrificed so much. And from there, to reach this stage where suddenly in the first season itself he becomes a star, it's very natural for any youngster to just get swayed and lose track. You can say that. No, he didn't lose track, he was still doing decently in cricket, but yeah, that he became the party animal. It was a lifestyle which Shane Warne then said that he loved Hardik Pandya for his flamboyance, but that in India is often seen as arrogance, just a poor boy. I won't really say poor boy. That's a very bad term to use. You know, from rising from almost nowhere and becoming a superstar almost overnight. Uh, that's often seen, like Indian society treats that as, arrogance, paisa aa gaya and suddenly dimag kharab ho gaya, that you've got money and suddenly your brain has, like, you've been brainwashed and all. There was these instances where he was undergoing surgery and he was wearing 81 lakhs watch. Everyone was like, oh my god, like he's too in his own world, he doesn't take cricket seriously. And that injury which happened, I think that proved to be the turning point in his career. Obviously, the whole Coffee with Karan episode, because it just taught him that, without cricket, then the other things won't really exist, and that all the sacrifices his family have been for his cricketing future. So I think that, the injury proved to be an eye opener for him, so to say.
Yeah, Coffee with Karan. I was going to bring that up. We have to, you can't do a deep dive into Hardik Pandya without talking about that. Do you think that was a sort of major kick up the arse, basically, in his career? Because look, he was who he was, and he did what he did, and he's not denied he did any of those things that he spoke about. And I mean, some of it was, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but the fact that he used to talk to his mum about certain stuff, which, I mean, there's not
Yeah.
many, humble Gujarati families who discuss that with, their elders and stuff. I mean, you could
Yeah.
say that, that says a lot about his open relationship with his mother, and that's good that there's open communication there and all that. But yeah, there's some things you just don't want to talk about with your parents, particularly when you're talking about women and you're talking to your mum. But anyway, that was the
you don't
kick up the
yeah,
arse.
you don't say that on national television. You
No. Yeah. And not just any national television. This is like,
Yeah.
a huge deal going on Coffee with Karan. Him and KL Rahul as well. And they were both suspended for a while. KL Rahul didn't really say that much, though. I
Yeah.
didn't think. I
If
think
you remember that episode,
Yeah.
KL Rahul was looking at Hardik like after all these comments, and he was nodding his head and he was like, "What are you saying?" So the obviously Disney Hotstar, where the episode was published, they took that down. But I was lucky or unfortunate, whatever you want to say, to see that episode. I saw the full episode before it was taken down. So there were these instances when KL Rahul was like, "You cannot say that. You cannot say that." But Hardik Pandya was Hardik Pandya. Yeah.
Yeah. But he has changed, obviously, a lot since that time. And we'll discuss more Hardik Pandya after this short break.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So, Sarah, we talk about him as this future white ball captain of India. It's almost a shame that we see him as this white ball cricketer now, just in all, even if, we take the captaincy to one side, because, he made his test debut. He was the all-rounder which India have been crying out for generations since the retirement of Kapil Dev. There's been no quick bowling all-rounder in that Indian side, and they've tried various options, and they've had medium pacers, and whether it be in Test cricket or ODI cricket, they've tried one. I mean, Ganguly, when he first came onto the scene, was a medium pacer who could bat in the top order, but only really effective in English conditions and places where the ball's really going to swing. But Hardik's got that extra pace, and he's a proper fast bowler and can bat down the order aggressively as well. It's just a shame, the injury problems that he's picked up over the years. And we saw, didn't we, that 2018 Test series in England, where India unfortunately went on to lose that series, but it could have quite easily been India winning the series 3-1. It was such a closely contested series, and India just lost the big moments really in that series. They were in winning positions time and time again and just failed to deliver. But I remember a performance from him by him at Trent Bridge where he took a fifer, and India won that Test match, and he batted well in certain points as well throughout that series aggressively. And that was the player. I mean, he's the player who we're just desperately crying out for in Test cricket, but it doesn't look as though that's going to happen, does it?
Yeah, I don't see a test career for him. Uh, but then it won't be the worst thing, because white ball cricket, India needs someone like him in white ball cricket. In Test cricket, you can still say that there is someone like Shardul Thakur. Obviously, not like the most feared bowler, but I think that's what gets him the wickets, because everyone, like the batters, just relax a bit when he comes on to bowl, and that's what gets him the success. You can say, with and he's here to stay in white ball cricket. I just hope that injuries stay away. What's encouraging is that after that injury, potentially career ending injury, he could have easily just taken up batting. He could have improved his batting and been like, I'm not the bowler, my body can't handle bowling. But he came back, he stayed away from international cricket. Virat Kohli was saying that if Hardik Pandya is to come in, he has to be an all-rounder. And he improved his fitness, he uh, improved his bowling as well as his batting, and he was like, if I'm going to be in the team, it's going to be on board, like, because I'm an all-rounder. So that's encouraging to see, especially in an age where the Kohlis and the Rohit Sharmas, they've given up bowling. So for him to stick to it, I think that's an encouraging sign.
Absolutely, and he's been bowling well as well, and good pace, which I think is encouraging. And he's that sort of enforcer. You know how maybe England use Ben Stokes sometimes, probably more so in Test cricket, but even in white ball cricket, Ben Stokes is the fifth bowling option usually, but he's the one who can dig it in short and just mix it up a little bit with things like that, and not just look to bowl full, and just rough up the batters a little bit, so to say. And with that extra pace, I think that's a useful weapon for India going forward. I mean, as a captain though, he did fabulously well with the Gujarat Titans. We've talked about it before. He took up that role at the top of the order, really, being an anchor for the innings. He wasn't a finisher for Gujarat. Didn't need to be when you've got David Miller and Tawatia and Rashid Khan down there. You don't need Hardik Pandya as a finisher. So he took up that role, which is different to him. Played it really well, I thought. Led the team well. Made the right bowling changes at the right times. Team selection was good. The morale of the boys seemed to all be good throughout the tournament as well. There was a togetherness. And I think, being a father and, being settled down in life now as well has just made him sort of show those different characteristics that obviously were inside of him and have now come to the surface.
Yeah, but I don't know if you remember this, but there was this one match where he led them to the win, and Ian Bishop was like, "Are you going to party or like party the night away?" And he said, "No, I'm a father now." So that just shows the responsibility that's come over him. And I follow his wife, I follow his account also on Instagram, and it's just it's not, he enjoys doing that. He enjoys being with his son. He enjoys post pictures and videos of his son when he's not playing, and that's very encouraging to see. Also, one more thing is that again, another criticism which he got this year was when he decided to leave Mumbai Indians. He could have well been retained by Mumbai Indians, but I think it was his decision to pull out, go to a new team, and be like, I want to be the captain, when I don't think anyone before this year even considered him as a captaincy material, because of his temperament, his arrogance, flamboyance, whatever you want to say. We've spoken about how people are very loyal to Mumbai Indians, so obviously Ambanis and all the glitz and glamour that comes with being associated with the team, he willingly pulled out of the franchise and was like, I want to be a captain of a new team, which is a big risk because obviously, if you fail, and he was making a comeback. He hadn't played for almost a year, didn't have the best IPL last year. But still, to say that, I'll captain the team, that just shows the confidence that he had in himself, and he knows his game so well that he knew that if I'm a captain, I can better my game overall, and that's what we saw. So kudos to him for recognizing what he can and can't do.
It was weird at the start, wasn't it? And seeing Hardik and Krunal, not playing for the Mumbai Indians, but then for
Yeah.
the first time in their lives, I mean, they've played for all the Baroda age groups together in the same team. Or, at certain times, Krunal may have moved up an age group. But I think most of the time, Hardik was, good enough, even though he's a bit younger, to still be in that same age group. So they've played literally all their cricket together, their whole lives professionally. They've played for the Mumbai Indians, they've played for India. And then seeing them come up against each other was a bit weird. But yeah, risk. Like you say, and it paid off beautifully for him and the Gujarat Titans as well. Right, we'll take another short break, and off the back of that, we'll discuss some of his best attributes as a captain and what he could bring as a leader to this Indian side.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So looking at the India captaincy then, Sarah, we both feel that he should be the man, at least in charge of the T20I side, but if not all of Indian white ball cricket. It's not to say that Rohit Sharma should be dropped from ODIs or anything like that, but you just have one white ball captain, Hardik Pandya as the man. I'm glad they've taken this step and not maybe gone back to somebody like a Rishabh Pant who's there, who's done it before, who's stood in these sort of tours when all the senior guys are not available or rested. He is the vice captain for the New Zealand series. Hardik's the leader. He's the skipper. What can he do as captain of this India side to improve it? What are the qualities that you think he's got and that he could implement? And what differences is he going to make as a captain of the India side if he was to get the job permanently?
It's very easy, isn't it, to say that, if this person will come in and everything will change. This is what we expected of Rohit Sharma also. But I just think that with Rohit Sharma, I had said this, I had written articles about this before he was appointed test skipper, saying why he shouldn't be, because his fitness issues, his age, plus overall he's not fit enough to, consistently play all three formats. So the first thing that I would at least want Hardik Pandya to do is play as many white ball games as possible, unless of course there are these more important series coming up and all that. At least play these as many games and just have a bunch around, which is the future. Like 2024, you first of all settle down on maybe 30-25 players and then just take them forward with you, because this is what I think cost India the World Cup this time also, because there were these constant changes. How Rohit Sharma coming in for one series, going out one series, Kohli resting, Bumrah resting, not playing, and there was this confusion. So at least, and this is what happened because all these players were playing all three formats, and with Indian cricket playing so much, that was unavoidable. But at least, yeah, just settle in on a core and stick with them and try to give them as many matches. Same question to you: what are the biggest challenges for Hardik Pandya going forward?
Fitness is obviously a massive one. I suppose it's what happens when he might have some run-ins with the selectors. It depends on what the selectors do and how much freedom the captain has to have his input on the team. I think that is the biggest challenge, because if you give Hardik Pandya the captaincy, he's not going to want Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul opening the batting, is he?
Yeah.
That's not his style of cricket. that goes against everything that he's known through his entire 20-over career and IPL career and international career as well. He's seen that it doesn't work. He's not that type of cricketer. So that, I mean, there could be some major locking of horns there, and that it could always become an awkward thing because he knows Rohit so well from their time at Mumbai Indians. They're almost like brothers. And then Rohit's probably going to still play ODIs, and Hardik's going to play ODIs as well. So what happens there? Is there going to be a conflict? Is there going to be tension? I mean, the sensible thing would be really for Rohit to just step away from T20Is and say, I've retired from that format. Just give him that dignity and the honour of just stepping down by himself. KL Rahul's obviously quite young, so he's not going to do
31.
that. I mean, he not young, but do you know what I mean? He's still got a few years left. He's got 4 years on Rohit. So he's not going to retire from T20Is, but you could just drop him and that wouldn't be such a big issue. But how much freedom do the selection committee give to the captain? I think that's going to be his biggest challenge, maybe politically, how he can make his stamp on this side, like Owen Morgan did with the England side. He basically said, this is my team. I say what happens. I say who gets selected. You do have a national selector at the time and all that, but it was Ed Smith and James Taylor who were doing that. But really, there were just two guys who were doing all that, and they had a couple of scouts working for them as well to scout the new young talent coming through and new players from domestic cricket who should be maybe getting an opportunity. But it was literally two selectors and a captain, and only one of them was really the selector, if you see what I mean. So it's basically the captain calling all the shots. The selector would just make the phone calls. So that's what would happen. They'd have a meeting. They might, it's good to have other people. You don't just want the captain saying, right, these are my players. It's good to have discussions with others because you get different opinions and different takes on stuff. But ultimately, it should be, I think, the captain making those decisions, particularly in white ball cricket, in T20 cricket, because it's the team is almost a sort of extended image of yourself. And if you're the captain, you want the team to play in your image. And Rohit Sharma, the team was probably playing in his image a little bit too much, with the exception of 2 or 3 players in that side in the World Cup. And that didn't work. So you almost want to change the whole thing and just tell Hardik Pandya, how do you want to play your T20 cricket? That might be part of his interview process of becoming captain as well. What do you envisage this side doing? How do you want them to play? What kind of players are you looking for in your 11, in your 15, in your 25, whatever it might be? And go on, who do you want to pick, basically? And if that all looks good, I think if you can get that politics side of things sorted out and make sure that he's got full control of the team, I think that's going to be his biggest challenge. But if he overcomes that, I think he could be very, very successful indeed. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. One other challenge which I thought of was, a vice captain who will be his vice captain if he's potentially injured. I hope not, but if he's injured, or if he's not playing, if he's skipping a series, because obviously he can't play all series considering the amount of cricket India plays. But who will be the vice captain? Will it be KL Rahul? But then that will mean KL Rahul is opening. Will it be Rishabh Pant? But Rishabh Pant is not, with captaincy, he's not really impressed that much. Plus, he had to establish himself in T20Is. The thing with Kohli and then Dhoni and then Kohli and then Kohli and then Rohit Sharma, there were such easy transitions, which is another thing which Rohit Sharma struggled with in his captaincy. There was no reliable vice captain. There have already been 8 or 9 vice captains this year for India, and not one that stands out. Shikhar Dhawan probably, but Shikhar Dhawan is already closing to 40. He won't play much. So who is the vice captain? And that's one thing which the Hardik Pandya also has to have a say in that, and the selectors also they have to decide who the next vice captain is. So
it has to be someone that is one of the first names on the team sheet, and a lot of that might be down to Hardik, who he wants in his teams, ODIs and T20s, depending on what the situation is. And who he wants as that deputy, somebody that he trusts.
Kill Samson.
I mean, it could be if somebody like a Samson, for example, was to be nailed down, then he's obviously a captain in the IPL, so it could be an option. It could be Rishabh Pant. If Rishabh Pant, if you see him as a player who's going to play in both forms of white ball cricket and going to be one of the first choices in that 11, he could be an option. I mean, Bumrah is obviously, the Test vice captain, but is he going to play enough white ball cricket? I mean, is he just going to turn up for the World Cup? Is he going to be fit enough to play enough white ball cricket? And do you want to burden him with captaincy? I think that was a mistake, even making him the Test vice captain. It's too much burden.
He doesn't play at home as well.
Yeah, but exactly. He doesn't play at home. And plus, he's so important to you. So important to you across all three formats. Why burden him with any extra responsibility? Just get him to go and bowl as fast as he can and as well as he can. That should be his only job. So I don't like fast bowlers being captains or vice captains.
Get Kohli
anyway.
back.
Yeah, but as a deputy, really?
As
Kohli
the
doesn't
captain.
need it.
Yeah.
Give him that freedom. Just let him enjoy himself like Sachin did in those last few years of his career as well. Just no responsibility. Just go and enjoy your cricket and score the run. So, yeah, I think it has to be somebody younger. Potential options, I think, Samson or Rishabh Pant. But look, Hardik's not even been named as permanent captain. So maybe we're getting a bit carried away here. But it was nice to discuss that anyhow, and we'll discuss obviously how he does in New Zealand in a later episode as well. But that's all we've got time for on this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do rate and subscribe to us on your podcast feed, whoever your provider is. Join us on YouTube, subscribe to us there. Leave us a nice thumbs up and a nice review on there. Download the 99.94 app and see you next time.